Imagine playing a game with a child and all of a sudden they snap and go manic. All because of that video game. Be a really silly thing to do, considering we've never seen a child do that before, but I guess to some people this is a reality. But I can tell you, it's not. Statistics, even ever since video games have came out, have been trying to prove that video games do cause violence, and all have been inconclusive. The only thing to cause violence would be the anger that the other person experiences from themselves losing. See, violence has been violence has been around since before technology and before the thought of video games. We've had wars, shootings, and many genocides. See, a lot of the new games have also come out with very limited violence in them, and the violence that is blamed on the video games is usually due to a parent blaming it on anything but their bad parenting. See, we've had numerous wars and numerous accounts of violence years before video games were even thought of. We had the Civil War in 1861, World War II in 1939, and Vietnam in 1954. Now, see, the reason I named these three wars is because there are worst and most brutal wars that we've ever experienced to this date, and these are all still years before the first video game, Pong, was invented. Now, Pong is just a simple player versus player game where one person tries to get that white ball past the other. It's similar to tennis. And there's virtually no violence at all unless the other person loses and gets angry with the other, which still is not the video game's fault. That's your own mentality. Most of the time, war and violence or any disagreement goes on because of religion, money, power, and politics. You'll never hear a game be the cause of a war or any kind of shooting or anything. There's never been an instance where a game causes mass violence or anything. Maybe somebody angry at a game can cause violence, but that is not the game causing violence. That'd be like saying cars kill people because somebody hit someone with a car. It just doesn't compute. Now, recent years, or not even recent years, I guess ever since video games have been coming out, there's been many selections of non-violent video games. Honestly, the violent video games are in the minority. You have to be a certain age, which would be 18 and above, to play these violent video games. But a majority of the video games like Pong, Snake, Tetris, Mario Party, Wii Sports, all that, it's E for everyone. Consider that they're intended to be played with the whole entire family. They're intended for kids, adults, everybody to get together and play the game, much like board games are intended. Now, I do understand that a lot of the times games can get intense and people get very angry, and that's when the violence comes out. But this is still not resulting of the game making people violent. This is an inherent trait that humans have always had, which is just a fear of losing. When it's a rainy day or when it's gloomy out and the family wants to have a family game night, instead of cracking out an old board game, just pull out maybe you guys can all go into Skyrim, which features violence, but you can also build a family, build a house, make a shop, do whatever you want. There are games like Mario Kart where you guys all race each other and throw silly things like bananas at each other. I guess you can call that violence, but not really. And then you have Wii Sports, which is just you and your whole entire family, up to 4 people, getting together and playing any kind of sport game. These are games that are made to bring the family together instead of to initiate violence like most people think. Or not even most, just some. Now, there are games like Tetris and stuff that can help increase your brain functionality, but as a child who is very young, children are very impressionable. Let it be video games, TV, books, seeing their neighbor do something. A child has many ways to be impressioned, and it's the parent's job to tell the child what's right and wrong. Now, you see, if a child can do something wrong and the parent blames it on the video game, that's just showing more of the parenting style of that parent. Because if you can't teach your kid right and wrong, then you're not going to raise a kid very well. But once that kid gets out of the impressionable stage, is when we get into where video games can start helping. I can't say that video games make you smart, But playing some certain video games like Tetris, any kind of math game that schools use, there's Snake, multiple games like that can help increase hand-eye coordination, reflexes, memory, and many other things. And even in nursing homes nowadays, there's old seniors that are allowed to play their video games to help their memory and keep that intact. Brain cancer patients are being pushed to play more complex video games so they can use their brain fully so that they can see what's wrong with it inside of their brains. But overall, I just say that you can be pretty impressionable and you can blame anything you want on the violence that other people cause, but realistically, if you're blaming it on anything but themselves, it's kind of wrong. You can't really blame something on somebody else's actions. You can't blame a gun for shooting people. You can't blame a car for hitting people. You gotta blame the person that is using that certain medium. And once you're of the right age, video games have been shown that they can definitely help more than they've hindered our society.